We're live.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. It is another episode of Deux, Wytches. We haven't done, I realized, an episode in a long time. It's been a few weeks. I was scheduled to do one, I think, last week. I don't remember. I had said the last time I was live it was going to be, in 2 weeks, and then it wasn't happening. With the whole
thing,
crazy pandemic that has occurred.
Crazy.
Yeah. The last show I did was readings, and that went well, everyone. Thank you. So yeah, we're here, and we're talking tonight about our personal experiences, our thoughts, our insights about this whole pandemic, global pandemic, from our perspective as witches, our perceptions, our personal insights, our thoughts, our feelings, everything, and how to navigate the rest of this time and what we've been doing up to this point. And I definitely want to come at this from a witch's perspective, someone who understands magic and understands that perception, that it's definitely intertwined, and Obsidian and I agree that, we are witches. We are witches 24/7. So everything we experience, whether it seems mundane from another person's perspective who is not a magical practitioner, we see it not only in that, but with the lens of a witch, with the eyes of a witch as well. Hello, everybody. Hi, Johnny. Hi, Nikolai. Hello, Shadow Sun. Hi, Warren. Johnny. I think that's everybody. Yeah. So far, although there are more people watching, because I can see the number of people watching and the number of people talking in chat is never the same.
No,
it's never the same. So I hope everybody is doing well and staying safe, and hello down the rabbit hole. And everyone is taking the precautions necessary to stay safe. So I don't know, where do you want to begin?
Where to begin?
I know, right?
There is so much happening. So, real down to earth things happening, and that, of course, that it has an impact on every witch's perspective, of course, because it is intertwined, as you said. So where to begin? Honestly, I don't know where to begin.
You know what? I think I'd like to kind of touch upon. Actually, I was watching a video by Benabel Wen and Joey Morris. And they did like a 2-part episode. One, the first part on Joey's channel, and then the second part on Benabel's channel. And they generally were talking about negativity in the YouTube community and being a YouTube creator and needing to deal with the negativity. And they brought up a topic discussing sort of like false positivity, or like fake positivity, or like empty, like being positive, and it really not ringing true, or forcing positivity in a negative situation. And they touched on this whole pandemic and the positivity that people are trying to spread, or are attempting to spread, or are approaching the pandemic in a false positive way. And I think that's interesting. And I contemplated this, because I do think there is a difference between acknowledging that what we're experiencing on a global scale is scary, and it is devastating. But I don't want to say but, because that sort of negates that. It is scary and it is devastating. there is still positivity in the world,
Yes.
even through this horrible, devastating experience. And as long as we're not canceling out the realistic or the reality of this shared experience, that we can still experience positive things in our lives, and to totally forget about the positive things and only focus on this devastating situation is not a healthy thing. And not acknowledging that this is a devastating situation and only focusing on the positivity is also not a healthy thing.
Absolutely.
So I kind of wanted to, from an energetic, from a magical perspective, talk about that, because I don't know how many people are really discussing that. I think what I've seen is either people totally focusing on only the positive things, trying to outshine the negative devastation, or I know a few people that are only focused on the devastation of this pandemic and are missing out on some of the positives too.
Yeah.
So I'd like to kind of talk about that.
Yeah. And you're right. It's like a summary of every point just wrapped into one. And I agree. As it is in any magical perspective, energetic perspective, if you block out one or the other side, you are just walking on one leg, which is not
Mhm.
possible. You can't. So you need both to go forward. And I agree with you. I've seen also a lot of people just focusing on the positive things, and yeah, no, you this is not. I don't think it is positive thinking. It is denial,
Yes.
and it's not the same thing. You can be positive with the the consciousness of what's wrong. You can still be positive. You can still work your way through. But if you refuse to see what the traps are, what the dangers are, you probably miss something at some point and put yourself in a not not easy situation. You need to see both sides of the situation. For me personally, there is the hope that this disease gonna maybe, hopefully, gonna forces the world to change the way we live, the way we consume things, the way we buy things, the way how we travel. Is it really that important to go across the world buying something for shopping, for holidays, or all of this, the way what we eat and how we eat that, and how do we produce our uh, the things that we want to buy or that we need in in our house. All of this is something that we need to address for a long time, since a long time already. And for me, there is a hope that we finally will address all of this, because the disease gonna forces us to. And this in the end is kind of a good point. We need to learn again how to live on this planet without crushing it all the time, you know. So for me, this is a positive point throughout this shit.
Yeah, I agree. I also even looking at that, I sort of bring that down to a personal level. Like what things have, I mean, I feel like, and if I look at my family, when we moved here to Washington State from the East Coast, we had already done a lot of downsizing because we were not going to take all this stuff with us. And then being forced in this stay-at-home situation, it really got us even further into that. Like, what were we spending our money on? What were we spending our time on?
Yeah.
What things were we doing because maybe not that we wanted to, but it was expected of us? How much are we spending on takeout? How much are we spending on just going out to eat when we could actually be spending that at home? And looking at where our money is going, where our time is going, where the energy is going. How are we taking care of ourselves? I mean, I think of this, and Obsidian, I know, because you and I talk outside of this and we talk about personal things, but I had started walking an hour outside every day in February, in the beginning of February. And I honestly think if I hadn't started that, the likelihood of me getting seriously sick. I mean, I had a cold briefly in February, and I'm dealing with seasonal allergies now. But if I hadn't changed my diet or my eating habits and hadn't gotten into that exercise routine, where I was energetically, I probably would have been in a more vulnerable situation when it started, when the virus had started seriously spreading. So, I mean, I feel like part of that is sort of an intuitive knowing that, and I think you and I have had conversations, something big is coming, we can feel it.
Yeah. Remember how long we were
at the end of last year. I think we were talking about it.
We were tensed, we were on edge, we had trouble focusing, we were feeling there was something in the air,
and it was dark. I mean, I can remember typing out emails to you in tears, but I really think that this dealing with personal darkness was a foreshadowing of what was yet to come.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think being sensitive to the energy shifting, being sensitive to what's happening in your own little personal sphere, as well as the greater, because the microcosm is a reflection of the macrocosm. Knowing that and being aware of that and staying in tune with that will help you navigate
through it.
Yes.
Absolutely. And on an energetic point of view, again, you can only transform and work and shape the energy that you acknowledge. To go back to the first point you've made about the denial kind of behavior. You won't shape your reality if you deny that it is happening. But if you do acknowledge that, then you will be able to shape the energy around you, to work through it, as you were just saying. And I agree totally with you on the point, if we hadn't had the perception of things going strangely, of the shift in the vibration on the energy, we might not have made some choices that we've made, and the outcome would have been different, less positive.
Definitely. I mean, if I seriously sit here and say, well, according to the guidelines, I am in a vulnerable group.
Yeah.
But I know I'm not. But according to the guidelines, I am.
Yeah.
But I was taking steps prior to even knowing, like consciously knowing that this sort of thing was going to happen.
Yes.
Yeah. And actually, I am personally feeling, and that's sort of like the point I was trying to make. At this point, throughout all this devastation that's occurring, I am feeling the best I have felt in a while. Physically, emotionally, mentally.
You know? We didn't have the opportunity to exchange on this precise point, but yeah, I agree. I know you can see it maybe on the screen because this is a camera, and yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I know I look very tired. Even my husband was telling me that I look very tired, but I don't feel that tired. Actually, I feel okay. So and yeah, and I yeah, like you, I'm feeling better now.
Yeah.
I'm feeling better. The best I've been since a long time.
See? And I mean, I know we talked about it. I mean, the fact that even the family members that I live with, even though we've had to adjust to changing in schedules and stuff, I mean, if I look at our family as a whole unit, we are doing so well. Like personally, we as a family unit are doing so well financially, emotionally, physically. Things are just going so well for us. But yet, there's this devastation that's surrounding us. So I mean, to disregard all this wonderful thing that's happening for us and only focus on the devastation, I feel and I believe would be doing us a disservice. But that doesn't mean that we are not aware of what's going on.
No,
it doesn't mean that we are not participating in what we need to do in order to keep ourselves safe and to keep others safe. Yeah. So I mean, I don't want to disregard, and I don't want to, say discount or devalue the horrible things that are occurring for other people. No. But I also don't want to devalue where we are as a family either. So it's that balance. It's that.
Yes, it is. And you know what? It's like anything, any magical work, I think, that anyone would put for any subject. You cannot expect to find a job if you cast a spell and sit on the couch for the rest of the week. No. You have to go along with this energy to build this momentum and to project the energy of your spell out in the world in order for it to come back at you. In the same way, you cannot, I think personally, someone, not you like you are.
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
This is just a point. The thing is, in English, it is the same pronoun to say you as you, CricketSong, and you as the whole group that I have in front of me. And
not like tu and vous.
Yes.
You're talking vous.
Yes, I'm talking vous. In general, point. Mm-hmm. So, in the same way, we cannot expect to a magical work about a job, for an example, to work if we just sit on the couch and do nothing. The same way, I think anyone cannot expect a protection magic spell to work if you go outside and do shit and do not respect social distancing and touch everything and then touch your face all over, you're gonna catch it. You're gonna catch the disease. You have to act accordingly with the energy you are building, you are trying to raise, and you are trying to shape. I mean, if you are trying to, at no point you're gonna pick the sizzle and just cut across the thing. You are trying to shape something. So any gesture you're gonna have, any move you're gonna make on this art you are trying to create, gonna be sync before, gonna be in the same way for the same goal. It's the same thing here. It's the same thing here. If you are trying to raise a solution for you and for your close one, or for all of us, you need to act accordingly. Because I've seen something that displeased me on the net. Some people, kind of the one you mentioned, face positivity without taking any steps, in the mundane. This is stupid. there is no there is no other word for me. At least you cannot cast a protection spell or a healing spell and go out and respect no measures, no nothing. This no. I mean, come on. This is witchcraft 101. You need to act accordingly with what you are trying to raise. So don't fuck it up at the first occasion, please.
Yeah. It's the idea of building the momentum of what you're trying to manifest. I mean, if you're working against what you're trying to manifest, if you're not acting in accordance with your intention in the magical sense, in your thoughts, as well as in your physical actions, then you're putting up a resistance for your magic to take the course of least resistance. You don't want to be your own resistance to your magic manifesting.
Yeah,
So, if you're practicing the necessary things like social distancing and washing your hands, and then you're and staying at home as much as you can, and then you're casting your protection spell, that makes sense. But if you're having COVID virus parties and inviting the whole neighborhood into your home, and you're sharing the same cup, and you're spitting in each other's mouths, I don't know what you're doing, just kissing everybody, you open a kissing booth or whatever you're doing, and then you're casting a magic spell for protection, you're putting up so much resistance in your intention that the probability of it manifesting is next to nothing.
yeah.
So, I mean, it just makes sense. It's basic, like you said, it's basic magic 101.
Yeah, it's basics. And another thing that I think we should acknowledge is not everyone is in a magical perspective, in an
Of course not.
energetical, and so those ones, and especially those one who doesn't take any precaution, doesn't do anything to help, well, even if they are not magical beings, they are, but I mean, not acting
I
like
know
that.
what you mean. They're not conscious magical
Yes.
beings.
Thank you. Exactly. Even if you are not conscious of it, those people are building an opposite momentum of it.
Yes, they are.
And we are constantly fighting this momentum. Constantly. So this is, I was about to say, this is also a war. We are at war with the virus currently all across the planet. We are also at war with this contagious momentum, the one who
But you know,
pushed you.
that momentum is there constantly, though. It is there in
It is.
so many ways. I mean, I think this is just another way for it to manifest. You can look at it, when, whether it's, witches trying to reclaim the word witch, or whether Wicca wants to be recognized as a religion, or whatever it is, there is this shared reality, the shared consciousness, the shared beliefs that witches and magical practitioners are constantly, in battle with, or trying to overcome that resistance. Magic is not real. It's fairy tales. It's make believe. It's Harry Potter. I mean, we as magical practitioners and witches are constantly influenced by that. And
Yes.
that those individuals who in this pandemic are not taking precautions and haven't acknowledged that it's a real pandemic, although at this point, I don't know how they're not acknowledging it. But there is that resistance that we have to overcome. But I think it's there. It's there quite frequently anyway.
It is, and it is. But I was talking, especially in protection from the virus, magical work.
Yeah.
Any kind of work specifically addressing that you are maybe going to do, or that you already did, sorry, gonna have to face this opposite momentum, because I've seen that some people in Michigan has a protest against the stay-at-home order. Those people are actively fighting your protecting spell. And anyone who's acting like this works against you, me. Anyone who is trying to put out a go through a solution, a protection, And I was addressing this specific point, but yes, in a global perspective, we are, as magical practitioner, constantly fighting. This is kind of why I have a bit of hope in that, because, and maybe why we are feeling better, you and I, because the earth, the nature is kind of taking holiday right now.
Mhm.
It is thriving, and I am delighted to open my window and hearing nothing but the wind, the birds singing. I am delighted. The sky is clear. Every night the stars are so visible. And God, this is wonderful. And I hope it kind of touches people's hearts, reminds them we are living with the earth, just not on it. We are living with it. And I really hope this gonna, pop in some people's mind and maybe shift the future.
Yeah, that would be nice.
That would be nice. I've seen, if you allow, I've seen a question in the chat from Warren Peace. He was saying, here's what I've heard. The virus is attracted to the cold. Thank you. To the cold. It cannot live above 72 degrees. So 72 degrees, what? Fahrenheit or Celsius? Because we are not counting in the
72 degrees Fahrenheit.
Fahrenheit.
So I think that's what, 40 degrees Celsius, maybe?
Yeah, no. So it's not true.
I heard that same thing though.
No, it's not. Um, the heat might have an effect, yeah, on the virus. Some think that the fact that when it is hotter, other virus tends to not be so active, so it's a relief for our immune system. Then we have kind of more strength to answer this precise virus if we come across it. But in terms of staying alive, like the bitches, in terms of staying alive, I mean, look at it. If the virus wasn't active at 72, then it wouldn't be spreading right now across Africa or Australia and in some part of the world where it is really fucking hot. So no, no. Actually, it seems that it survives a fucking long time, even without infesting a living body. It can survive a long time on non-living surfaces like wood or board,
Paper or
cardboard, paper, steel, and everything you can imagine. So no. And there was a second part. However, it's also said that once someone has it, they become a carrier. Yes, kind of like the flu. Yeah, worse than that. Actually, you can still be contagious for a long period of time without even knowing that you are carrying the disease, the virus.
that's what I was afraid of in the beginning. I mean, and still am. So, I mean, I'm not necessarily too concerned about getting it from someone. I'm more concerned about carrying it and giving it to someone. Um, so that's really what motivated me not to go out unless I absolutely have to, you know.
Yeah. Well, there is a lot of things to address in terms of, really practical things about this virus and the disease that it provoked. Okay, so I have a friend, a good friend. She's a nurse, and she's a nurse in a COVID-19 unit right now. I spent hours on the phone with her every week. So I can tell you, this disease is a bitch. It's incredibly difficult for the moment, for the doctors and the researchers and everyone else in between to get a hold of it, to understand it, because it can go in so many different ways. They are at lost for now. They are trying a bunch of things, but for the moment, none of it has proven, really good results on a large scale. Like I was talking about that with CricketSong just before the show. Like hydroxychloroquine. It's difficult to say in your language. There is no proof of it being more useful than anything else. Here we are giving it to the patient in hospitals when they are in an early stage of the disease, because apparently it is a theory that it can help to reduce the viral la charge virale. I don't know how to say that in English. The kind of the amount of viral strength that you carry. in you. And apparently the hydroxychloroquine might help to reduce that. So it is said that if you have to take some, you have to take it early in the disease, and past some amount of days, it becomes useless because it's too late for this substance to have any effect. Personal virus. Yeah, sure. But yeah, you're so pretty. But my friend explains to me that some of the people who received hydroxychloroquine with other things, it is not a single molecule that going to be a miracle molecule. This is not true. It always comes along with one or two, sometimes three other drugs to help. On some patients, it seemed to have good results, and on some others, it has zero effect. And the people went into respiratory distress anyway, and had to be transferred to the ICU and be has the
Intubated.
intubated. So no, for the moment there is no proof of any miracle thing. So we need to continue to search, and in the meantime, we need to not think that it is over, because then if we do that, we're gonna go in the wrong momentum, the one in a denial part. So it's important to acknowledge what we are trying to do in a practical way, what doctors are trying to do, but not to live in a dream. This is not what magic is all about. You are not living in a dream. You are trying to shape your reality. If you don't acknowledge the reality, you ain't shit. You ain't shaped anything.
Yeah, I tend to look at it in a way that I am shaping my reality, but I cannot ignore the influences that the shared reality have on me.
Yeah.
So, when I always tend to say, this isn't reality for me, but I also need to acknowledge that this influences what I manifest for my reality, because the influences are very strong, because we're physical beings, because I grew up here in this physical reality, this shared reality, whether it's a crappy shared reality or not. I am constantly, every day, bombarded by the influences of social interactions. Even while quarantined, I'm still influenced by my neighbors who live all around me, by whatever I'm watching on social media or on Netflix or listening to or whatever. Everything influences me because I am physical and I live in this physical realm.
Yeah.
So even if I say to myself, I don't like this reality, I'm going to create a new reality for myself, it's still going to be influenced by whatever is going on around me.
Yeah. We're not evolved enough to escape it. Let's face it.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, we need to compose with it. We need to.
I don't want to.
Me neither, but I'm not sure. We have no choice. And
Well,
running,
we have a choice, but I don't think that's the choice we want to take.
no.
Because we always have choices.
Yes, but it's not always the best one.
That's true.
So yeah, we need to go across that. We need to work our way through it. And this is by working on both sides,
Hmm.
energetically, and physically.
And that makes so much sense because we are spiritual and
And
physical.
physical, absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
know, I mean, anybody who addresses one aspect of themselves and doesn't address the other aspect of themselves are not going to successfully manifest any sort of change. So if you're only coming at something intellectually, or you're only coming at something spiritually, or you're only coming at something from physicality, you're neglecting or missing those other parts of you, or of what makes you you. So, yeah. I mean, it just doesn't make magical sense to negate or to totally disregard other aspects of yourself.
Mm-hmm. If you have question in the chat to know if some of you wants to know how it is going in Europe, you can ask. I will answer if I have the answer.
Yeah, we have about 17 minutes or so. So,
Yeah, so you can go. But I think the most important thing that we kind of repeat since the beginning of this live is you need to act this accordingly in physical and in energetical manner, like you would work any kind of magical working.
mhm.
Just be aware that there is a lot of opposite momentum.
Yeah.
So you need to be extra proactive, really into to work your protection magic, your healing spell, your anything.
I would actually encourage individuals not to do what I sort of think of as a one-shot deal, but do long-term spell work. So meaning that, if you're casting a spell for healing, whether it's, for a specific individual, or whether it's for a group of people, or whether it's for, a small group of people, or humanity on the whole, or whatever, if you're doing any sort of healing work, to do it in a long-term spell, meaning that it's going to take more than just one session. You sit down, which I like to do those one-shot deals. They're very effective for me. But in this sort of scenario, because you have so much momentum in opposition, so many outside influences, this is a situation that really calls for a long-term spell, a spell that you're going to do maybe over a full moon cycle, or a spell that you're going to do for 7 days, with those 7-day knob candles, or 7-day the tall pillar candles, or however you're going to work it. That will help you build the momentum, because you will be constantly feeding that. You'll constantly be working towards that, and also group doing spells like that with more than one witch, building together a sort of, like, instead of just shooting pew pew a little squirt gun, you're going to shoot this big cannon. You're going to push something forward.
Yes.
So anything like that would be really helpful, and I think will get more of a success than just a one-shot deal.
So true. So true. And if you want, maybe the thing that you can do also is, if you are wearing a washable mask, a tissue one that you suit yourself, or a scarf like a bandana or anything like this,
Mm-hmm.
you can enchant that before going out. For the moment you go out, you can enchant that. You can also, if you are working somewhere, don't hesitate to work in an working spell that go on and on also to protect your
Mhm.
workplace. Clear it energetically speaking, and do all that you can think that might help on a long span of time. You
Well,
can do.
the idea, I'm just thinking of that, spelling your mask. If you wear a mask, not only, I mean, if you're enchanting, imbuing, whatever you're doing to that mask, if you do it in such a way that every time you speak, if you have some sort of, word charm that you're going to speak through the mask, you are constantly sort of like activating that.
Activate. Yeah.
Yeah, those things I think are that will constantly I have this vision, sort of protecting, but also, healing, whatever phrase or whatever word you want to say every so often, sending it through this magical screen of your mask, sending that intention through that and chanting that word that already carries a specific vibration, sort of sends that out. I think that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, and could help you and the other person.
Exactly. Anybody that can hear that. I mean, imagine, just think, that is so awesome. And oh my God, you got my juices flowing. And if you're making your own mask, or if you're not, if you're using a store-bought mask, you could either put a sigil on the inside of it or even on the outside. I mean, and that also, every time you speak, can activate that sigil. So, oh my God, think of all these wonderful things you could be doing.
Yeah, and I would say I tend to, as usual, I tend to use a lot of fire magic or air magic, but in this particular time, air magic is especially, I think, important because this is the way we're gonna spread the virus between us human beings. It's gonna travel through the air from one to the other. So having an air, not hair, but air magical protection is especially on the point. I've seen two questions.
Yeah. Well, someone was asking if you work or are you at home?
I am locked down at home. Usually I work from home, but actually I just homeschooling my kid, and it takes a lot of time. So there's that. But maybe I gotta go back to work in a few weeks from now. And you were asking to what measurements are in place in terms of helping those who are unemployed. Yeah. So this is a very different way of addressing the situation. Your country, I assume you are in USA, yeah?
Yeah, I think he is.
Your country. How to put that? Your country is really focused on money. If
Well,
you have
we're capitalist. Yeah.
too much, yeah, way too much. Our country is also into capitalism, but not that far. And we are not screaming like bloody murder if we do have taxes to help to go into like this giant purse for everyone. And this is what we are doing. We pay a lot of taxes, but a lot of it comes back to us in terms of her earth thank you. Health.
Healthcare.
I'm sorry, I'm kind of tired. Earth care, and also about unemployment. Actually, there is uh, a bunch, a million, some millions people currently unemployed, but we do have help in terms of money that come into your account every month. Those kind of helps are still available. Plus, there was a special measure. If you work in anywhere that has to be locked down, which is almost everything, your boss can write you in a partial unemployment plan. We will and it will provide, so the federal government will provide 70% of your salary every month for until the lockdown ends. Plus, there is measures to help workplace, the shop, restaurant,
Hmm.
movie theater, and anything actually. The state of, I mean, our federal government, the country, provides financial help for everyone, actually. Everyone. Everyone. No one is left out. You won't have what you have in USA with, the thing that you lost your job. Nobody will fire you here because there is measure to prevent that, because the state allows bosses to sign up their employees into this special partial unemployment thing. And the state, the government, federal government, will provide 70% of the salary when you stay at home. So yes, this is gonna be a financial and economical crisis, yeah. And what? When if everyone goes out and die, there won't be any economical thing either. So we are not thinking the way US is thinking. Absolutely not. We are in the opposite spectrum. We know we're gonna enter into a recession, a pretty bad recession actually, and we don't give a shit because we think that lives prevail on money. So yeah, this is that. We have help. Uh,
We have unemployment, but apparently the system is pretty broken.
yeah, I've heard that, but it is obvious that it wasn't ready for anything.
Not this kind of thing.
No,
Not at all.
and this is not. It's like um, about health care.
Yeah.
Here it is a federal thing. None of us is paying anything. None.
Yeah. My family doesn't have health care right now.
Yeah, I know.
I know you know.
Yeah, and this is things that makes me mad about US. I
Actually, my son has health care because he got it through work. But
Yeah,
yeah.
but here it is how it works. There is 70% part of any else bills that you might have will be taken care of by federal government, and the 30% that might stay, you can sign up, individual protection. I don't know how to,
Yeah.
insurance. You can sign up for that. So most of us have. We do pay a little thing every month to cover this 30% that the federal state won't take in charge. But even like this, I mean, that it's nothing like, even if you don't have a personal insurance, it's nowhere near what you would face in US in
Oh, I
terms,
know, right?
nowhere near.
It's crazy.
And actually, the federal government has already said that they will cover every bill, everyone, every bill, because we are trying to save our people. And at this point, the economical problem is second in the list. Even if we know we're gonna have to reopen the country, and we will apparently start, if the results are good enough, we will probably try to reopen our country in 3 weeks now, around May 11th. If the results are good enough, and only in the part of the country that are the healthier at the time. I don't think my part of the country gonna be reopened because we are too close from the second biggest cluster, which started in the evangelist church, by the way.
Yeah, I heard that.
That pisses me off so bad. Well, yeah.
Hello, Jasmine. Long time no see, my dear.
Hey,
It's dark
yeah,
time does call for dark goddess teas. Yes, and dark goddess work.
yeah,
Definitely.
of course. Oh my God.
We have about 3 minutes. Any last thoughts in regards to this whole thing? I mean, definitely, I think the main thing that Obsidian and I have been saying, the key points are, within this disastrous time, not to overlook the positive experiences that you may be experiencing yourself. And not just focusing on positive experiences, but acknowledging and understanding that there is this disastrous darkness as well. So sort of taking things in balance, and definitely working in momentum and working in alignment with whatever sort of spell work you're trying to do, whether it's for your own personal benefit or the things that you are dealing with, or dealing with things in a wide, a broader spectrum, and understanding that you are sort of fighting against this tide of people who might be working in the opposition. So doing things long term, doing things with others to create more of a bang, more of a push, and building the momentum towards your intention. Because one shot sort of spell work, I mean, if you're looking at larger intentions like healing or protecting, may take more effort at this time.
Yeah, but it can be done. It
Oh, it
can
definitely can. It definitely can be done.
definitely, yeah. Just be aware of your surroundings and what's happening
And
in
what's
them.
influencing you.
Yes, and work against the opposite influence. Work through the opposite influence.
Right. And I think there is such a thing as watching too much, being too alert to what's going on social media.
Yeah,
Watching, I personally, it's my opinion that watching the news 24/7 does you no good.
I agree.
um, being aware of what's going on, but having that news station on or watching those things
Constantly.
24/7 are going to influence you, maybe not even in a most healthy way.
Yeah, no.
I mean, especially if you're trying to facilitate a change
Yeah,
and you're trying to work against the mainstream perspective. Being aware is one thing. Being constantly plugged in is something totally different, and I don't think it's healthy.
I don't think, no, I don't. Well, it's a very, again, practical thing, that because it works both ways. If you are constantly engulfed into stress and panic mode, that you're gonna develop so much resistance
Mm-hmm.
in doing whatever magical work we are trying to do to ease the situation. You cannot just sit there and watch the bad news all across the world all the time. No, you are basically undoing what you were just doing. Yes, it's a waste of energy, and no, you don't want that. But I have to say, for what I've seen, okay, maybe it's not this way because I'm not living in US, so maybe it's not. But uh, I've seen a lot of shit, a lot of stupidity going around in US. There is not much. Well, it depends on which channel you tune in, I suppose. But be careful not to tune into Trump shit.
Oh
This
yeah.
this man, god damn, guys, I have to tell you, in Europe, we are pissed, but you pretty bad. We are pissed so much. This man, we see it as a threat because he is one. Please, guy, got rid of it.
I hope. I'm
Please.
afraid we might not. But on that note, it is time to end. I was just trying to look at my calendar to see when the next show might be.
I don't have
Ideally, maybe May 1st, maybe. But yeah, maybe. I don't know. Well, because the next week is the 24th and then it's the 1st. So I don't even, I'm going to say there won't be a show. Huh?
No, yeah, May 1st for you, it's May 2nd for me. So it's
Yeah.
okay.
So there's not going to be a show next week for sure.
Okay.
So the soonest it would be May 1st here in the US. But we'll have to see. That's the tentative date. And I'm not sure what would be talking about. So if you have suggestions, please share them with us. I want to thank you all for being a part of our show. Stay safe. Yeah.
There is hope.
There is hope, definitely.
Don't fall into panic. We're going to
Yeah.
go through it. It's going to take some time, but it's going to be okay in the end if we are all
Vigilant.
our goal. Yeah. And yeah.
Vigilant.
Take precaution and work your way through it.
Yeah. So I love you all. Thank you for watching.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.